Marcellus Wiley, the former NFL All-Pro defensive end, host of More to It podcast on the Dan Patrick Podcast Network, and he joins us now. Is that a must-lie situation there, Marcellus? Do you think Jalen Hurts is going to play against the Cowboys?
No, I don't think he's going to play against the Cowboys, and he doesn't think so as well. But he understands his role, and he understands it fully as the leader of this team. Jalen Hurts, beyond his talent, his character is what's really driving this team to make them accountable and why they're on this win streak right now and have the number one seed. And Jalen Hurts knows he doesn't want to drop the ball in terms of the momentum this team has right now. Saying that you're going to just pass the baton to Gardner Minshew without a fight makes some people question you in the locker room. That's the football culture. You have to die trying. So Jalen Hurts knows even if he's physically not able to go out there, verbally, he has to act like he can.
Okay, what would you do if he's iffy to be able to play? Like how important is this game for the Eagles? We know how important it is for the Cowboys.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's always layers to it. Like right now, you're talking to your audience, but then during commercial break, you talk to the Danettes and you guys say different things. Obviously, you're privy to different information if you're on the inside. So on the inside, as a teammate, I would know the real. I would see him in the training room. I'll say, "What's up? You good?" "I don't know, dog." "I don't know, dog" has a no in it. It doesn't have "I don't," "yes, dog." "I don't know, dog." So we get it. And then you have to go out there and publicly profess something so that we can still hold some hope out. But at the same time, when I've been in that predicament before, I've kept it real on the inside and fake on the outside.
Trying to figure out Dak Prescott. It always feels like when we say, "Oh, where is he? A top 10 quarterback." He's around 10. Why isn't he higher, or what's missing for him to move up the quarterback ladder, in your opinion?
One, the scrutiny is so intense that we're going to question ourselves even when we believe what we see with our eyes. That's what happens when you wear the star on your helmet. Dak Prescott suffers from that. Also, Dak Prescott has had a ton of resources, but not all of them at the same time. Let's just remember this. When he had the offensive line that was young and balling, and Ezekiel Elliott was balling when he was young, he didn't have a defense. Then all of a sudden, you start to see some of the holes in Ezekiel Elliott and the offensive line. Then you start seeing flashes from the defense. Then all of a sudden, you look up and he doesn't have the receiving core he needs, but he has the defense. And the running game could be there if they committed to Pollard fully, but they're going back and forth trying to respect the contract of Ezekiel Elliott. I look at this like it's Dallas, so we're always going to find something critical to say. Dak Prescott is certainly a great quarterback, but how great is always going to suffer because of where his location. And more importantly, everything that he has, he's not had at the same time. So I think that's why he hovers around number 10.
Is there a quarterback who's under more pressure?
I can't name him. I don't see anybody else. And the pressure is because people won't give you your flowers. The pressure is when anything goes wrong, you're the reason it goes wrong, even if it's defensively, even if it's in coaching and making mistakes on the sidelines. Somehow, some way, because Dak Prescott is the quarterback of the Cowboys, we find a way to get to him. And being real about it, as a player, I would feel like that is on the media at large, because the media at large knows what's the jackpot. Cowboys, and when you say Cowboys, who are you talking about? Dak Prescott. So all conversations have to lead and end with Dak Prescott, therefore all the criticism.
Okay, when you did your show on Fox Sports, how often would you have a rundown meeting and go, "We have to get the Cowboys in the conversation today"? You're encouraged to go with the Cowboys on a daily basis.
I was just the opposite. That's why I'm here right now, because I got tired ad nauseum. I'm sitting there like, why we keep talking about the Cowboys? I mean, this was times when the Cowboys were 500. We got to talk the Cowboys 3 times in the first hour. I'm like, they're not even that good right now, but we still had to do it because it pays the bills. So I think everyone knows behind the veil what's driving this. Like, they're a machine. They're a cottage industry when you talk about the Cowboys. But I'm not going to lie to you. I'm a former Cowboy. I got tired of talking about them. And I think there were deeper layers, there were better teams, and there were more interesting conversations at times to have. But they don't drive the bottom line like the Cowboys and Dak does.
Marcellus Wiley, the former NFL All-Pro defensive end, and his podcast, More to It, available weekly on the Dan Patrick Podcast Network. You touch on a topic, the Jets quarterback battle with Zach Wilson and Mike White, and then you say how backups lie about loving the starter. Explain.
Yeah, I mean, what a dynamic. And we've all been through it in the workplace, someone who has the job you desire. So how do you coexist with that person? Do you bring them coffee and donuts, or do you try to spike it? Are you sitting there trying to undermine them? It's the same thing in the NFL. Like when you're a backup and a capable backup, not a backup who knows I don't have a chance. Like I was a backup to Bruce Smith. I didn't have a chance. So I didn't have to go out there and sabotage him. But when I felt like, hey, I need my reps, I need my opportunities, it's time for me to try and figure out a plan where I can all of a sudden take over. In the Jets situation, this is a perfect dilemma. They have two bad choices. You have Zach Wilson with all this talent, and you know that he's someone you want as your franchise quarterback, but he hasn't lived up to the billing. Then you have Mike White, who was compromised in that respect, but everyone believes in him, and he has a great story, and we rally around him. And if you're the Jets organization or Robert Saleh, you're sitting there like, I really have two bad choices. But coach is going to be as faithful as his options, and he doesn't have any other options, so you got to try and rally behind both of them. But when you're a backup to a guy you know that you're better than, or at least you feel that way, boy, it's kind of weird going to work every day, going to practice, knowing you're trying to stab him in the back.
What's this say about the position of quarterback? Quarterbacks currently in the NFC playoffs. Jalen Hurts, second-round pick. Kirk Cousins, fourth round. Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant. Tom Brady, sixth-round pick. Dak, fourth-round pick. Taylor Heineke wasn't drafted, and Daniel Jones was the sixth pick overall.
Yeah, it highlights how important intangibles really are. And that's something that gets lost in the process of becoming a top quarterback. I hear a lot of basketball players say this, like the basketball IQ of today's athlete is low because they're doing so many specialized trainings, so many skill courses, one-on-ones, and they don't have the perspective of the entire game. Same thing with the quarterback position. They find them their throwing coach, and they go out there and work on footwork and all the mechanics. But the perspective, and not just on the football field, but like Jalen Hurts, off the football field, building up that character, building up your leadership skills. All those things are intangibles, and they're hard or impossible to measure. Therefore, people don't really put focus on them when you're developing a quarterback. But it comes to light when you get to the highest level, because everybody could throw, everybody could run, everybody's big and strong. But who has the will inside of them and the character to go even farther?
How often would you have an argument, sports argument, on TV, and it was a real argument? Like, this is going to stay with us during the commercial break or after the show?
From my perspective, I never had that, because I was raised that if we're really going to argue verbally, we're going to bring out the big guns. And I never brought out the big guns on TV. Even though I would shoot here and there, I would try and slice you here and there, I never brought out my big boy. Why? I heard this in relationship counseling. My counselor told me, he said, never argue to win with your wife, because then you're living with a loser. And I used to think the same thing when I used to debate. I was like, if I win and try to destroy this dude, now, the next segment in the next show, I'm with a loser. And they took it to heart. I worked with a ton of people, tremendous commentators and broadcasters. And very few of them could just move on. They always took it to heart, in part because they didn't have that character development of playing the sport. I really believe playing football made me understand next play. And I can't think about the last play. Next conversation, I can't think about the last conversation. But I would get up there with some people who would take it into the break, take it offset, take it home, and don't want to talk the next day. So I learned early not to go that far with it. Maybe that's why I didn't win enough debates.
Who's the last football player you'd want to fight?
The last football player I want to fight. James Harrison is coming to mind. We've had a similar conversation before, but I know he's a big teddy bear. So even though it would hurt in the process, I'm up for that fight with James Harrison. I'm not going to lie. The first time that I was able to see, like, it would be like a big receiver, really, because they are athletic, more athletic than you, and as big. So maybe like a Megatron from the old days or something like that. Like a guy who I know is more athletic than me and as rangy as me, and not that much weaker than me. Those would be the guys I don't want to see.
Would you rather face Justin Fields or Patrick Mahomes?
Wow, where are we? Justin Fields. Look, I know he has that wild card factor of the running ability, and every play that breaks down, he smiles because he's like, yes, this is my time to shine. But I want someone like a Justin Fields because then I can just bring my blitz package from the outside. This is something that Bill Belichick did against Doug Flutie. When Doug Flutie was really making some hay in the league, no one could stop him because he had that running ability. And Belichick said, okay, let me just keep him in the pocket. Let me make a run straight through the tackles, and let's check on that running ability. So there's a way to slow that down and force him to throw. With Patrick Mahomes, no matter what you do, he's still going to get his numbers. He's still going to put up points.
The passing of Franco Harris at the age of 72, coming up on the 50th anniversary this weekend, Steelers and the Raiders, and maybe the greatest name attached to a play in sports history.
Yeah,
Immaculate reception.
Rest in peace to the great. It really hits home. It's funny when you retire from football, it's really your first death that you faced in your life. Like you just died in terms of a career, in terms of all of your investment into something. And usually you're in your 20s or 30s, but you have a long life to live. And now you're starting to see, for natural causes, those heroes that you grew up watching, now they're starting to fall. Now they're dying. And it really hits home, especially when you're a part of that fraternity or a part of the game of football like we all are. 72 years young, it's just unreal. But what a tremendous legacy. Obviously, he'll live on forever through highlights, through his accomplishments. But it really hits home for me because I start to do the mental math and start to say, wow, guys that I used to have on my wall, now they're falling.
Great to talk to you as always, Marcellus. Merry Christmas to the family, and we'll talk to you in the new year.
All right. Merry Christmas, guys. Take care, brother.
Marcellus Wiley, former NFL All-Pro defensive end.